Hi, this is Random But Rob doing a new tutorial covering how to do a trancey dark melodic break in terms with a HardHouse tune. I'm going to cover what noises need to go in there in order to get an impact on the break. Also covering the actual lead noise and how to create a movement on the noise in terms to give it more depth, more power and more feeling towards it as well in terms of what keys they're on. Just going to cover this section here. It's actually a full track that I've done which is released on Tempo Tracks called Debris Disc, sort of to do with space and things like that, so hence this break is kind of a dark, spacey, melodic riff to go with the title Debris Disc. So, okay, just go into the lead noise. So this is the lead noise that I created. So it's on, so it's actually on an A, this track. So it's on the key of A. And the actual lead noise is just a pretty simple saw that I created. And there's so many preset packs that can do this kind of noise or similar. It's just a little bit of detune on it, so it's just that. Nothing spectacular, but in terms of getting the sound out of it is a lot to do with how you arrange the pattern of it, and it's also to do with how you EQ it, which we'll go to very shortly. So in terms of the pattern, it is kind of on a triplet. So just zoom in a bit more. So the first bit of it, the first bar is just like a triplet every so often. So it just kind of goes. Yeah, so it's just that. The whole riff itself, see, just key changes up on the higher ones, just so tone and then a semitone tone. Then it goes down, but as it goes down, the bass part of it, which is here, that goes down as well. So the whole riff itself sounds like this. Yeah. So it's in key, it's in scale with the notes. There's nothing spectacular. It's just a nice simple up, up, up a bit more, up, up, up a bit more again, down on those. So it's nothing, it's it doesn't have to be a sort of, intricate, really in-depth riff. It just has to have a simple catch to it and going on the keys that it probably needs to go on, or it can go on in terms of its scale of it. So yeah, so this is the break section here, which consists of the riff. I've actually laid it slightly. What it needs on a break as well is that it needs sometimes like a sub-drop boom on the kick when it kicks in, so like that. Just a little sweep there. Crash. And another kick. So when it kicks in, so it'll sound something like this. So yeah, now we notice the lead has actually changed a little bit. Now, what's happening with the lead is on the lead, you assign an EQ onto the lead. That one. That one. Yeah, so you assign an EQ to it. So you just notch it up slightly. You might need a little bit more kind of high end, so it's just a little bit more, slightly more trebly. And there's a function on that green, sort of turquoise green one that you control in there. There's a little function there. You can just move it slightly. The tip is to move this around. So what happens is, as an example of what the riff's doing. Moving frequencies, it's moving from the treble, the high, the mid towards the low. So it's sweeping really between the frequencies, and what that does is it just gives it a lot more movement in the riff. Rather than it just being kind of on one frequency that it's producing, or a few frequencies that it produces over the course of the sound, it's actually moving through frequencies a little bit, so it's catching your ear a little bit more as you're hearing the riff, so it gives it more presence, it gives it more power to it. And it's just a simple little thing like that that causes that. So yeah, so that's how that section was created. It's just a few noises in there. It's about movement on the riff. And to excel the section is you maybe need like a drone lead in there. So just to give it a bit of warmth underneath. So a bit like a film, you know, you get those kind of elements to it. So the next section is really just a case of just sort of putting that in as a drone backing under bass. Yeah, apologies for the clipping there. Yeah, so, and then you just do a little build up at the end, so keep it on one key and a few kicks in there just to give it a bit of a build up. You know, the build ups don't have to be really, really intense. The problem, if you do it too intense, it has to come in with impact, and sometimes it can't come in with impact if it's too much of a build up, so you can just do a little build up on certain ones. So yeah, so when it kicks back in, it's still doing kind of what it was doing on the break with the frequency shifting on the EQ. So yes. Yep. So yeah, and also in terms of the riff, it just needs a little touch of delay on it, a little tiny bit of reverb, but don't put a lot of reverb on it. If you put too much reverb on it, it tends to mask the track on the actual main section when it kicks back in. So if you're using reverb, just use a little bit of reverb, maybe take a little bit of the low end off the reverb so it's not crowding the bass and things like that. Just enough to give it a little bit of spaciness, a bit of warmth, create that space within your track, not too much where it becomes sort of too crowded within the noise of your track. So yeah, so that's covering how to do a simple dark melodic break. Obviously you can use these for whatever noises, that technique, just use that shift of EQ just to give your sound a little bit more movement, a little bit more to the ear. So yeah, hope this helps for people. Try that technique out. It's very simple, it's effective, and yeah, just keep it simple but keep it effective. That is probably my best advice. Okay, hope this helps. Thanks, bye.